must say, last week, as soon as the gavel hit, it got quiet. We're slacking a little bit tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's regular scheduled meeting of the Freeport City Council. It's Monday, July 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. I will declare that a quorum is present and will call this meeting to order. At this time, I would like to ask Councilman Rosso to lead us in the pledge and the prayer.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you right now for another day. You're such a good God. We ask you to have your way in this council meeting today. Bless all those under the sound of my voice. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, and you may be seated. At this time, we have audience participation or citizens' comments, as some like to call it. First on the list is Mr. Kenneth Hayes.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kenneth Hayes. I live at 414 Mystery Harbor in Freeport. I've got to tell you that I heard a lot of comments and calls about the little act that Mr. Pena pulled in the last meeting last week. With the vulgar language that he played twice after you told him to stop was unacceptable. And if he does it again, he should be kicked out of this deal. The other point I gotta make is y'all are even considering rehiring Chris Duncan as the city attorney. You know, if you looked at the past or talked to the past council that let him go, you would have seen there was a reason. It was not just a personality deal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Manning Rollerson.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good evening.
I come today for one or two reasons. One is I contact the city of Freeport about the new soccer field. I found out $500,000 was vested in that soccer field. This council voted to put in Lincoln Park. We don't have Lincoln Park over there on 4th Street. That's before you got here, Councilman Davis. We don't have Lincoln Park on 4th Street. The council voted also to start building that community, putting the infrastructure in. We don't have that either. It's been 3 years. Why is it not done? This was voted on. Why is there a lock on the soccer field? That's what I want to know. Because if taxpayers' dollars went into building and constructing that soccer field, then y'all must take that lock off the gate. Because it belongs to the public. It's not private at all, period. Anytime there's $1 that's financed by taxpayers. So I expect y'all to get that lock off the gate, or we'll see about bringing a lawsuit based on that lock, because taxpayers funded dollars. I understand that they want to make sure that the soccer field don't get tore up, but we build it for the children so they can have access to play on the fields. The EDC has a house on Yellowstone that's wide open, gate wide open, broken windows, open doors, and is in litigation. But if somebody's child from the apartment complex go over there and get hurt, who's liable? That's the whole thing. Who's liable? Call Matt Sebastian's office. Oh, Mr. Rollerson is in litigation. Call Robert with the EDC. Oh, we in litigation. Call the city. Nobody's doing nothing. But what if one of those children over at that apartment get hurt? Then whose fault is it? The taxpayers. We will be legally liable. We come in here every month to ask y'all to do things that the city really needs. And we have to argue with you. We know that the industry that y'all bringing in our community is just making it more toxic, more unsafe, not transparent. We have 4 people die in 3 years in the Brazos River from cuts. 3 years that this city has not notified one person in the city that our waters is so toxic that it's killing people right here in the city. YouTube it, since you don't want to believe me, but YouTube it. It shows you Freeport, Texas. And the last man died is from Clute, Texas, and his daughter stay up there in Sugar Land. So at the end of the day, you're not being transparent. We got tourism coming in, people coming to the beach, but the most dangerous time for these bacteria is from May to October. And that comes from the state. So how safe is our waters? How safe is it for tourism to come into the city of Freeport based on our push for tourism? And these waters not safe, and you guys are not being transparent, because you can go on YouTube and see how dangerous the waters is in this community. We got a lack of housing, no safe water. And one more thing I want y'all to think about before y'all go voting for the industry, because we got industry hawks in here. The D-cell plant, you think real hard about it. We got 17 industries in this community, and every last one of them have poisoned this community, blowed up in this community, and not one was held accountable to the taxpayers. Think hard about this D-cell plant, because the water's already infected in Freeport, and you know it. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Rotherson. Next, we have Mr. David McGinty.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilman, citizens of Freeport. My comments tonight relate to the workshop being back on the agenda. I believe the workshop, if used correctly, is the voice of the citizens to be heard via our city councilman, mine being Jeff Penn. I respectfully ask each of you to use the workshop as intended. The intent in my mind is as follows: to address specific issues brought to you or ward reps by your constituents who otherwise have no voice, have no way to relay their concerns. It is the citizens' only way to know that you have heard us and are addressing our concerns. 2, make public announcements relating to issues and events happening or coming up in your wards in our city. Number 3, heap praise where due, offer positive comments or solutions, and celebrate our accomplishments with the citizens of Freeport. In closing, I feel very strongly that the workshop is intended to be my voice, the citizens' voice, via y'all's voice. I implore all of y'all to use this important tool appropriately and in a positive way in order to make Freeport the best Freeport ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGinney. Next, we have Mr. Sam Reyna.
Mayor, Council, good evening. My name is Sam Reyna, and I reside in 2002 North Avenue G. KCSL reviewed the financial statements, invoices, and audit with the EDC board. The Duncan law firm had overbilled on a contract that had not been approved. Chris Duncan emailed KCSL that it was not her job to question invoices, but to cut checks as requested. He paid back the $1,600 he overbilled, but that was because he got caught. Another case, Chris Duncan wrote a check on a closed account for rent due and would not make it good until the DA got involved. It was a hot check. Chris Duncan is representing Jeff Pena on charges of advertising operations of short-term rental properties without a permit. And he's also supposed to be representing the city of Freeport. Well, not yet, but he can only represent the city or Jeff, not both, conflict of interest. Chris Duncan was the EDC's attorney. Everything he implemented while representing the EDC was illegal. His contract was never approved by the board. The EDC board asked him to write up a contract and bring it back for approval. It was never brought back to the board for a majority vote. President Jeff Pena just implemented it. It was not a binding contract. 15 years ago, I remodeled Stacy Miller's apartment that was behind her mom's house in Jones Creek. She was a cancer survivor and a single mom, so I gave her a huge contract discount and would also do a lot of extra work free. I finished the contract and went to get the last payment of $3,800. She refused to pay. I filed a lawsuit in small claims court. She hired Chris Duncan to represent her. I showed the judge the before and after photos of completed work plus all the free work that I had done. Chris Duncan displayed one single photo. A cabinet was missing a door. And I had reviewed all work relating to the contract. There was no doors missing. It was the judge that caught the deceitful intent. Half of the hinges were showing on the photo. There was a door in that cabinet. She granted me the judgment and told Miss Stacy and Chris Duncan to pay me my money. What they done, they just opened the door and took the photo, but the hinges were showing. So the door was there, and she's the one that caught it. The judge was in a hurry. She was running late to a meeting. She was chairman of the Battered Women of Brazoria County. Said her secretary would give us a copy of the judgment. I thanked her and told her as soon as I got my money, I would donate it to her foundation. She pulled me to the side and said, "Mr. Reyna, I want to thank you for your gesture, but what they tried to do to you with that photo, you'll never see that money." And she was right. I was never paid. That's Chris Duncan's MO. He has no rights in representing the city of Freeport in any capacity. He doesn't even have the right to be in the city of Freeport, period. This is a copy of the hot check he wrote, okay? And there's another guy from Freeport, not from Freeport. His name is Pedro Garza, who he was supposed to be working on his
Mr. Reyna.
immigration status and never did anything for him. He beat him out of $1,500.
Mr. Reyna,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
you almost made it.
I almost made it. Thank you.
Thank you. The last one I have is Miss Melanie Oldham, and it's a public discussion that you wanted to speak on. So you want to hold off until then?
Do I just have 4 minutes total?
In public meeting, we can just talk.
So I'll be able to speak about the budget?
Yes, in the public hearing, you can speak.
Okay, Melanie Oldham, 1206 West Broad Street, and I'm here. I'm so glad that y'all are a little bit ahead of schedule on the budget compared to other years, and so I'm glad this is the first public meeting on the budget that the public can give some suggestions. Again, regarding to what Mr. Sam Reyna just said, actually, that's not completely true. I've gone to EDC meetings for a long time, and I read all the minutes, and the audit that he's referring to was done when they audited the city and the EDC, but they're two separate components. But what it said was there was a major discrepancy with the mowing company. major because there had not been good internal financial review, and the auditor said, you need to fix that, Kathy and EDC. And so it did mention that there was a small, in my mind, compared to the mowing deal, discrepancy regarding Chris Duncan's paycheck, whatever it was, $1,200. But it was minor. It was a slight mistake. But, you know, Mr. Rain is blowing it up like he's a bad attorney. I haven't in the past always agreed with Chris Duncan, but he is a very good attorney. And thank you again for listening to us on this budget.
Thank you, Ms. Oldham. Oh, that's outside. I don't know what's going on.
I guess that's what we call cleaning City Hall.
Mr. Rollerson, although it was a bit disruptive, I do appreciate you taking care of it. All right, moving on. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Tonight we have two items. Let me make sure. Two items on the consent agenda. 2A, which is action regarding the minutes of July 7th, 2025. And 2B, action approving the monthly financials through June 30, 2025. Council, I will entertain a motion.
On 2A, I'll make a motion to approve action regarding the minutes on July 7, 2025.
I'll second it.
Just 2A or both of them?
I can do both at one time?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, I'll own both of them. Yeah. And approving the monthly financials through June 30th. So, both of them.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Councilman Davis. Councilman Pena, do you still second?
Yes.
Seconded by Councilman Pena. Councilor, is there any questions or comments on this? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next, we have proclamations and presentations and updates. First one is presentation of the investment report for quarter ending July 30, 2025. Ms. Hurst.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The report presented before you tonight shows that the city's total cash portfolio of $27.4 million was managed in compliance with the PFIA and the city's investment policies. At quarter ending June 30th, the total cash in our Texas Gulf Bank was $9.7 million, and the total cash in our investment accounts combined was $17.6 million.
Council, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Hurst?
I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hurst, thanks for preparing this financial report here. Quick question here on that. The investment yield at 17.6 million balance as of year to date. What kind of return do we have on that compared to last year or from this very point, the last 12 months?
I'm not positive. I can look and get you an answer.
Okay. Do we know what it was maybe last year or any kind of growth percentages that you might have at your fingertips?
I don't have any at my fingertips, just the report. These are listed online. They have
Okay.
to be in compliant with the law.
All right, thank you. No further questions, Mayor.
Thanks, sir. Council, any other questions? We'll move on to 3B, the presentations of the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2025 through 2026.
Okay, good evening again, everyone. So I put together the proposed budget. This entire budget cycle has been very different than what we're used to, given changes and all of the crazy. So yes, it is coming a little bit earlier before y'all, but at the same time, there's still a lot that needs to be answered. We are required to have it on file by the 31st. So this is the preliminary. This is what will be on file as we continue to work through it in the August and September meetings. So for the general fund, the overall summary, we would be looking at a year-ending available fund balance of 7.8 million. Revenues did go up. Expenditures went up, not near as much as the revenue, so that's good. Our beginning fund balance, we're looking about 10.7 million. And currently, we only are taking into account the $150,000 that the water sewer fund has to repay to the general fund. Any capital project transfers are not calculated into this budget yet. For the overall revenue summary, each category went up with the exception of franchise fees and taxes, lease income, and license and permits. License and permits and franchise taxes were adjusted based on actuals. Lease income did go down. Jacobs did not renew their lease at City Hall, so that is where that decrease is coming in that line. Overall, the industrial district revenue was adjusted to the proper allocation amounts for this year. Property tax revenue currently is based on just actuals with no tax increase. Sales tax was increased by 2%. That calculation came from the comptroller in a meeting that we had. Charges for service overall increased by 16%, the majority of that being golf and ambulance. Those numbers were discussed with those department heads before they were plugged in. The franchise and other taxes revenue decreased by 4% based on the actuals. Miscellaneous income increased by 25% based on actuals. The fines and forfeitures increased by 3% based on actuals. The lease income decreased by 23% to reflect the loss of the tenant. Intergovernmental increased by 9% based on actuals for the EMS interlocals. License and permits decreased by 42% based on actuals. And interest income only increased by the 10% based on actuals, and the majority of that reasoning being that interest rates aren't climbing as high as they were last year. Overall revenue increased 1.6 million over the 2024-2025 adopted budget.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
What was the Jacobs lease, monthly lease amount?
I have it in my other budget book over here. I can look in just a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious how long their lease was originally, and if they also have any active contracts with the city.
They signed, Jacobs and Brazosport Care signed a year. Brazosport Cares renewed and Jacobs did not.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So for the general fund expenditure summary, this is by department. I know it's a little hard to read up there. The administration department is looking at a $43,000 increase. The IT department is looking at a $186,000 decrease. The municipal court, a $3,650 decrease. The police department, a $383,000 increase. The fire department, a $23,000 increase. EMS, $74,000 decrease. Streets and drainage, $113,000 increase. The service center, $6,200 increase. Beach maintenance, we are going to account for in a fund instead of as a department to better track those expenses this year. The garbage department decreased by $20,000. Building and permits increased by $13,000. Code enforcement increased by $64,000. The library department decreased by $9,600. Parks department decreased by $49,000. The rec center decreased by $36,000. The senior citizens increased by $500. The golf course increased by $212,000. And the museum decreased by $10,000. And Main Street, this number will need to be updated. Right now it's showing a decrease of $45,000. And with the hiring of that director last week, we'll need to get that updated. So overall, we're looking at a total increase across all departments of $515,000 for just general operating expenses. Within those operating expenses, a 3% cost of living raise was included, and that was applied to the PD matrix. A 0.09 increase for retirement benefits was calculated. That increase starts January 1st, 2026. A 15% increase in group benefits was included. A 5% increase for property and general liability insurance as an estimate was included. And then, like I said, no budget requests have been accounted for from council's approval. Currently, there's an estimated $1.8 million available to allocate for those requests. And then the overall expenditures increased the $515,000 over the 2024-2025 budget.
Coming to a couple other questions, Mayor. Ms. Hurst, can we go back one slide, please?
This one?
Yes. Quick question on that. $515,000. I want to make sure I understand that number. That number represents an increase in revenue, but not as a net in terms of expenses against I guess revenues.
This is just the expenditures looking at themselves.
This is the revenues looking at themselves, right?
This is the expenditures.
The expenditures. So I guess what I'm just trying to understand is that are we looking at like each department and what their net was, whether it was a plus or a negative overall based on what they were budgeted last year and what they brought in? Is that what that number is?
You want to see department-specific expenses and revenues? Is
Well,
that what you're asking?
that's what I
for?
thought I was looking at here.
This is just expenses. This
So,
doesn't account for the.
It just
the
means that we're looking at this not in terms of a profit, but as expenses. And I
Yes,
want to
sir.
make sure that that was clear on that.
Yes.
Because it makes it look like, wow, the city made 515,000 across the board, when that's not what this spreadsheet is saying, right?
No, this is their operating expenses for the departments.
So their operating expenses went up
Yes.
by 515,000.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And it's looking like we're gonna end up having a higher expense due to the Main Street, is that right?
The
Because the
number.
hiring on Main Street, you said, so that number will actually go
Yeah,
up
so the number
or
I
down?
think needs to be adjusted. I think when I spoke with Robert on Friday, it's like $8,000. It's not that much. And part of that difference is because we are using the EDC funds that they pay the city to offset that salary.
Okay. So yeah, the salary for the EDC should be coming out of the EDCs.
That's correct.
Okay. And then you mentioned something about the beach. the 42,850, and you said that's going to go into another fund. Can you give me a little bit more clarity on that?
So previous management was tracking beach maintenance. It's for a grant that the city has, and she was tracking it by a department number, which after many discussions, I prefer funds. You track it in a fund, you get department-specific expenses. We can see who's getting the most out of that, as well as it just separating it from the day-to-day operation fund. So it'll just be better tracking. It's not necessarily a net change overall. It's just going to be in a different place in the budget.
Okay, but just for some background on that, the city receives a certain amount of money from the county to manage the beach. Is that what that number is reflecting?
It comes from the state, from GLO.
Or from GLO? Do you
Yes,
know what
sir.
that dollar amount is annually?
We get we are eligible for up to 2/3 of what we submit to the state.
Okay. And what did we submit this last year?
I
Is
believe,
that showing on here on this page?
no, it's not.
Okay.
I believe last year only 40,000 maybe was submitted. We got back like an $8,000 payment.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I thought that they were, for some reason, paying us somewhere around $36,000 or more, somewhere between 30 and 60. I don't know. That number's kind of vague, but I remember that we were supposed to be getting somewhere along those lines, which wasn't very much, but it was intended to have us, collect the trash and clean up the beach. But it turns out that the expense is actually greater than that, and we're not really getting that 30-something. We're getting closer to somewhere like 10,000 or less.
That's true.
Is it-
There was a lot of internal discussion this year, and we are approaching this grant differently for 2026. Additionally, labor rates were reviewed for what was put into the grant application, and it was discovered that previous labor rates that were submitted were not correct.
Oh, wow.
So everything has been updated for 2026, and this year we're all just approaching it how it should have been and seeing what it looks like towards the end of the year.
Let me ask another silly question here. How were those particular findings discovered? Was that by you or by the auditing company?
That was done internally. We had internal discussions with the PD, myself, and Public Works.
Well, I appreciate your due diligence on that, but it's a bit frustrating to hear this, in no fault of your own, that we've been operating with misinformation on these budgets. And even more like upsetting, really, that the auditors would bless our budgets without catching this. And I'm just wondering, is it the same auditing company that we had last year that blessed it, that we're using this year?
Yes, sir. We are in a contract with them until 2027.
Well, I'm hoping that you guys catch more and present it to them. But it's kind of a shame that they're missing this stuff, because they're supposed to be catching all the stuff that we don't, not the other way around. So good work, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the only questions I have for now, thank you.
Okay. So I just included the slide for the vehicle and equipment capital expenses. These will come forth after we receive your project approvals on what council wishes to allow the departments to purchase this year. So we're just kind of waiting for those answers to come back from y'all.
Hold on a sec.
Yes.
Can you go back one?
One more?
That first one, cost of living raise
Yes.
included. That's being submitted this year?
Yes, sir. The
Okay.
numbers tonight, the expenditures numbers have that 3% in it.
So, last year we had a discrepancy on police officers not getting it. So it's included in that, because I see it PD matrix also.
Yes, sir.
So we got that. All right.
Yes, they are included.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a good question, actually. So did they get the COLA for 2024, for 23, 24? Was that?
To my knowledge, no, I don't
Okay.
believe.
But
that
we're
was ever
doing it for
resolved.
2020, 24, 25?
25, 26.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. So 24, 25, it wasn't included. But for 25, 26, we have included it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I included a slide that has all of the department budget requests. I don't know if y'all want me to read over these, all of them, or how you want me to do it. No. It is public, and if the public does have any questions, you're welcome to come visit me and talk to me about it.
Council, I would like to, while we're looking over this in the next however long, keep in mind, she has both red and blue numbers. The red numbers are a one-time expense. The blue numbers are recurring. Okay, so if we grant a total of the $929,000 worth of recurring expenses that have been requested, keep in mind that that's automatically going to be on next year's budget as far as the expenses go, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. The one-time expenses are monies that we're going to pay out this year, but next year we're not going to have to.
It would change.
Well, it's because we want to plant new trees over here.
Okay.
Okay, so next year we might not have to plant
Okay.
trees.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Thank you.
So just keep that in mind as you're going through this, trying to make a decision on what you want to add to it.
Thank you for that.
To jump over to the water and sewer, we dove into this last week pretty good, so I'll just kind of hit it at a high level. The revenue, we're looking at 7.4 for the preliminary proposed. Expenses, we are looking at 7.7. We have 791,000 in transfers for this year. So we are looking right now I thought I had the total of that decrease, but I believe it's 1.1 that it is under the revenue. The difference being between when we spoke and y'all saw it last week and this week is BWA got me their rate increase for next year, so I updated that within the budget, and that did change the expenses. For the revenue, there was a slight increase in intergovernmental and miscellaneous income, and then the water and sewer services I did decrease based on actuals. We are seeing, we only have 2 billing periods under our belt with the new meters. It is trending up, but we don't have that solid baseline for me to feel comfortable judging it at a full year. So that is why it's still looking more at actuals historically than it is looking at today what's on the bills. So overall, the revenue did decrease by 542,000. I think I just already went through this. Since we're starting with the budget deficit, or potentially starting that way, my suggestion, again, I've said it several times, is that we continue to meet often and discuss often and keep this document changing as we go. There's been a lot of new changes, meters, revenue, expenses going up, so I think this will definitely be an all hands on deck type of year for the budget.
I have a quick question again
Yes.
here. So just to summarize, or what I'm understanding as the takeaway up to this point, is that the, as earlier asked, the expenses are up by 515,000, and the revenues are down 542,000. So that comes out to a basic loss or deficit of about $1 million, right?
Yes.
So we got to make up $1 million.
So discussions that I was able to have with Mr. Pennington today, and we are going to keep looking and digging. We believe that this type of fund is written with specific instances like this in the government code, so we are going to dig in and double check on that before we put a final stamp. We may need to look at adjusting a rate. BWA's rate is going up on us again. It went up on us last year. And so that's where those conversations where I say I think we just need to plan to be all hands on deck and all in discussing this together, I think will be very important for the water sewer fund this year.
Well, those are the two things that stand out to me here is the COLA. I'm curious what the net number is for all city staff that are not first responders, that are part of the matrix, and then what that number is, including the PD, getting the COLA that's outside of the matrix. So I'd like to know those numbers. And then also what that number is for BWA to be raising the rates on us and what that dollar amount is amounting to. Do we have that here tonight?
I do, actually. It would be in the next section of the agenda. So BWA's increase is, can't follow my line, $262,800.
Got it. And also, I'm curious, you mentioned that the new meters there's not enough information to give ourselves a projection of what we're gonna make for the year, so you're kind of using the older numbers based on the old meters. I know that I've been having some conversations with residents about their water bills, and so I'm even less confident, or I should just say, I'm still nervous about how we're billing based on the new meters still, and I'm just curious. I know what I hear, but I'm just seeing what you see from, the control center, so to speak.
From a number standpoint, we only have 2 months that a majority of the billing was on those new meters, or all of the billing was, and those numbers are trending upwards. But it's only been 2 months, so it's also summertime. I don't know how many of those customers filled a pool or
Right.
had a slip and slide.
Are you getting a lot of complaints at this point of high bills or extraordinarily out of line bills?
Yes, there's
Okay.
a lot of upset customers across the city.
And what's the solution from the water department in terms of our response as a city?
They're able to get a reread. If it comes back, then we do work with the customer. They can get a
Okay.
payment arrangement set up if it comes back correct.
All right, thank you.
You're
Appreciate it.
I got one question. Is it something here, are we getting to the part, how much water we purchase from is,
From BWA.
like we purchased the 2 million gallons or whatever? Is that, are you getting to that part, or can I ask a question? If you're gonna get to that, I'll wait.
No, you can ask. I did send that email up to you all last
yeah.
week, but it did not make it in the packet. So
Okay, it wasn't in the packet. Okay. Well, I was looking at that, and, I was trying to figure out, it's a way that we can make up some money there. So I'm looking at our usage, and I'm looking at we're buying 2 million, and you look back in years, well, we were supplying Surfside, and I guess maybe Orchard Creek was getting a little, but the usage still wasn't getting close to that. So that's $1 million there. If we cut that, what we're buying in half, because we still not using, 1 million gallons. We still have 30-something thousand gallons. You can get 1.2 million or something. But
it would
that'll
be a
close
council decision. Y'all can choose to sell to other customers. You could choose to cut that back. That's totally a council decision. But yes, you are correct. I saw the same thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's that cost to us at the 2 million gallons a month? The cost to us monthly?
The increase or the total cost?
Just what it was this last year, what the 2 million was. The 2 million gallons cost the city from
3.358 000.
So yeah, that's the,
Sir?
no. That is, Wait. It's 2 million gallons a month or 2 million gallons a year?
2
a day.
2 million a day.
2 million
Oh,
a day.
Yeah,
2 million a day.
I might have said a year. I might have been my bad.
So 60 million a month. It's a lot of water. Thank you.
I think I did make it to the end of this. The expenditures for the water sewer as of today, we're looking at 1.1 being in the hole. I did include that BWA increased by 262,000. Their rate increase is going from 4.6 to 4.96. Veolia services, I did just a general 1% increase. I would assume when we re-sign that price is gonna go up also. That's only 1% increase is reflected in here. And then those transfers that we have out of this fund. And that completes the presentation.
Well, don't go far.
I'm not.
Next, we have upcoming events. See if Mr. Pennington's on board with this yet. Yes, sir. I knew you could. I'll take it. Just gonna read what we got coming on up here. Take it away.
Under 3A, well, this is under proclamations, presentations, and updates. Presentation of the investment report for a quarter ending June 30th, 2025. I'm sorry, jump down to 3C. Upcoming events for Freeport Historical Museum, the Shark Exhibit, May 24th through August 13th, free admission. It's at 311 East Park Avenue, Freeport, Texas.
For those of y'all that have not made it to the shark exhibit this year, and I am one of them, but I will make it before August 13. We did just start Shark Week this week, so this is a great time, great opportunity to go down and visit with Wade and his crew down there and see the spectacular things that he's done with the museum. So ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:50. We're going to close this regular session of the Freeport City Council and open a public hearing. Let me get there. A public hearing over the proposed budget fiscal year 2025 through 2026. Ms. Hurst.
Okay, well, everybody just heard my spiel. The preliminary proposed budget for 2025-2026 was developed after the department submitted operating costs to continue providing services at the same level in fiscal year 2025-2026 as they provided previously. Additional items were submitted as supplemental requests that were discussed in the budget meetings in early July with council and mayor. The preliminary proposed budget does increase the city's reserves. This would be the time now for city council to provide staff with additional projects to be funded and guidance on how to fund any additional projects and or allocate the excess revenues. After discussion tonight, any changes brought forward by city council will be made to the budget and a new proposed budget would be distributed. There will be further discussion on the budget at the August 4th and August 18th meetings. Staff is recommending that public hearings on the budget and tax rate be held on September 2nd. The adoption of the budget and tax rate would be at this meeting as well. If the council does not adopt the budget and tax rate at the September 2nd meeting, it would need to be adopted on September 15th in order to be in compliant with the city charter and the Texas tax code. Currently, the preliminary proposed budget is based on no tax rate increase and no water and sewer rate increases. And the EDC board did approve their portion of the budget at their July 8th meeting. And that budget will be included with the city's budget to be adopted by council when it is taken for a vote in September.
Before we take it to council, is there anyone in the audience that would like to come up and ask questions? Ms. Oldham.
Thank you, Ashley. Melanie Oldham. First of all, even with my glasses, I could not see what was up on the screen at all. In the past years, when citizens asked to see the proposed budget, we got a paper copy of it. That would be very helpful. I just tried to take notes from what Miss Ashley was telling us. But I got to say, I'm very, very concerned that our budget's negative 1.1 million. That is not a good place to start. When 6 months ago, I used to go in and talk to former city manager Petty, I expressed the same concerns. I said, you got to get our revenue up. Ways to do that is to hire at least PRN grant writer. My gosh, I help with a nonprofit. If we didn't have a grant writer, it's amazing the money you can bring in. Cities can do the same thing. Also, our industrial district agreements are extremely important. In 2014 is when Mr. Pines had a lawyer help him negotiate the Freeport LNG industrial district agreement, which expired. It was a 10-year one, expired in 2024. From what I can tell, City Manager Kelty took it on himself to renegotiate the contract, and he could have got a heck of a lot more money from Freeport LNG since they make billions. Also, revenue, a large percent of our budget is from Dow BASF industrial district agreements. I've mentioned to the mayor and other council people, you need to take with you an attorney that knows how to negotiate these contracts, because they're usually 10 years, 100%, and that's revenue we're not having come into the city for 10 years. And believe me, Dow BASF have the best legal attorneys you can imagine, and they want to get sweet deals for their clients, and we could get more revenue. We could get our fair share of taxes if we had whoever from the city or city manager, interim city manager, who I trust, and I wasn't real sure about Mr. Petty because he never seemed to listen to me, but we do have a new city manager. And I would say that we look at bringing in revenue. And again, I've said for 5 years, grants, pay up even a PRN grant writer. They're worth their money. And then when I heard the presentation, the last meeting, about our meter system and the issues that we've had, I've had to go correct my bill 3 different times. But what really got my attention was that Veolia was left out of the bidding process for those meters. Oh my gosh, that was a poor decision by our former city manager. I'm just shocked, because there is I'm sure Veolia would have bid. Maybe we could, instead of whatever it was, 2 million, we could have got 1.5 million cost on the meters. But that's where you have to have people that have the knowledge how to negotiate these contracts and agreements. Just, and it could be a team, a city manager, the mayor, the attorney. It's got to be people that can negotiate for our city, because quite frankly, look at our city, and in the past, our leadership, they didn't do a good job negotiating with us. I don't think they did not do a good job negotiating with the port. We should have got a heck of a lot more money from the port. But again, one thing, to go to expenses, I think I heard Miss Ashley say that for streets and roads, there would just be an increase of 113,000. What is the total amount that we want to spend on our streets and roads? Because to most of us in this room, it's very important to improve our streets, roads, and infrastructure.
So the did it turn off? Hello? Okay. The $113,000 increase was for the streets department. It's not for streets projects. It's for day-to-day operations in that department.
Is there money in the budget for streets and infrastructure in the city?
If council chooses to use some of the excess revenues, then that would be deemed as a project for the city.
And having gone through a lot of, as a citizen, budget hearings, over and over, we citizens have got up here, and when we were asked, well, where would you like to put the money? It's always infrastructure, streets and roads, and of course we want our fire department and those services, police department. But my gosh, I don't know if y'all have looked at it, if City Manager Pennington has had a chance to look, but that's what we need in this city. And so, but when you look at a minus $1.1 million deficit, each department's gonna have to really buckle down on their budget. I mean, buckle down on what they absolutely need. Also, if I heard right, Ashley, the golf course budget has increased $212,000. Why is that?
The golf course's revenue and expenses were updated to reflect actuals, so they both increased.
The revenue and
Yes.
so they break even?
I don't know that number off the top of my head.
There's only a few of us in the city. I don't golf, but anyway, it's a service that's up for discussion.
The golf course, according to Brian, will almost break $1 million this year in revenue.
Extra over, no,
In revenue.
in revenue over expenses?
In revenue.
It brings in $1 million. It costs us about 1.5. So it's about a $400,000 to $500,000 loss right now.
It's still in the negative.
Still in the
minus
red, yes.
500K. Okay, and there's been discussion in other years about, yes, it's a nice service, but again, I would estimate 30% of people in Freeport actually go out there and use it to golf, Just the reality, there's a lot of people that come in from Lake Jackson and other places, or industry people when they're visiting, they go out there, and it's a very nice golf course. But, that's something, might be an area to look closely at. Let's see. Also, all departments, if I understood right, expenditures, their wish list has increased $515,000. Is that the total department's wish list? Is that right? $1,000 with all departments combined?
No, I think that was their expenses, I think, Ashley, is what she's talking about.
Yeah. It was
At
it was the overall department's increase in expenditures for their day-to-day.
So again, when you all meet with the department heads, which I assume you already have, you'd need to, we're gonna have to tighten our buckle and say, it'd be nice to have this and this, but, we need money for infrastructure in our streets and roads, that are very important to most of us. Okay, again, with the EDC budget, that's something, understand it's separate components. There for a while they used to combine them, but the auditors come in, and even though the EDC budget audit is included in the cities, that's where the auditors try to separate it. And in the past there's been issues, and if Miss Kathy Zell was still here, she could tell you that the auditor said, hey, EDC and Kathy, you got to do better because there's no internal review controls on this money. And there was, like I said, I'm not even going to go into the mowing contract that happened a few years back. It was a lot of money. Basically, there wasn't any check and balance, so they overpaid this mowing company a whole lot of money, a whole lot. So I don't know if that's been corrected or not, but y'all need to take a look at that, even though the city and EDC are supposed to be separate. And Mr. Johnson works for the EDC board, just to make that clear. And again, I'd like to possible to get a paper copy of the proposed budget. I looked online, it's not there because it's a ongoing discussion, I assume. But the final thing is, I don't know, a few months back, I was actually out of the country and I was stayed up late to watch the city council meeting, and former CFO Ezel was up here, and I swear, and I had my lawyer listen to it too. It's like it sounded like she was telling department heads it was okay to pad their budgets. And I don't know if anybody else caught that, but that is so wrong and so illegal. For instance, I think she gave an example. If a department said they wanted to hire 13 employees, but they knew or they could only ever find 5 or 6. Well, then that extra money should be discussed, I would assume, with the council, whoever, and say, okay, we got this extra money. But she was kind of saying, well, just department head, use it for what you want within your department. And I may be wrong on that, but I remember way back when, Ty Morrow, who was a former chief of police, who I very much respect, that city manager at the time asked him to pad the police department budget, and he said, no way, and he got fired. But we got to be careful about this. If you go back and listen to that tape, a CFO like Mrs. Ezel should have known better. And I think some of you, if you listen to it, Mr. Pennington, you'd say, that's not the way you do things. And I know, again, Mr. Pennington, I checked him out. He's very experienced, came from Pasadena as a city administrator. And so even though at the top, it says Petty's budget, because the city manager guides this, it needs to be all of your all's budget with the public.
Thank you, Ms. Oldham. Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Any questions or comments? Ashley?
I just wanted to address Ms. Oldham and any other citizen, but it will be posted on the website tomorrow, but I felt it was only right that it came before council before it was distributed out.
We
That makes
appreciate
sense.
that.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments from the public? Council, any questions or comments for Ms. Hurst?
Anything? I got a couple of questions, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just some comments, kind of follow up on what Ms. Oldham had brought up. I thought there were some good points. I know that we talked about last year that we had to have a conservative budget, and then this year it seems to be really the case as we look at the budget going in at 1.1 million in the red. So it would be nice if we go into the budget this next year with a balanced budget. But let me just speak philosophically about this. Sometimes you need a car to get to work, right? And you can't buy the car outright with cash, so you finance it. And what I mean by that is that if we end up coming up with a strategy that really puts the city on the right track, and it means that we are in the red for 3 years out of the next 5, well, that's what businesses do that are in a growth phase, that are in an incubation phase, that are in a development phase. And so I want to make sure that that we're very responsible with the money, that we're not in the red because we're just being wasteful and irresponsible. But if we're being aggressive and trying to achieve a new brand of Freeport and really maximizing our revenues, then I'll just be the first to say it. I'm okay with us being in the red if it's smart, if it's well-spent money. So maybe that gives you a little breathing room. but I certainly don't want numbers to be padded the way they were previously. And I can attest to what Ms. Oldham had made a comment about, because I caught that last year and the year before. And I'm hoping that we really buckle down on that part. And I really do like the idea of the grants. And, you know, I'm sure there will be some places where we can make some cuts so that we can make some hires, and maybe a grant writer would be good. And then I just started thinking about the seniors. There's a lot of really sharp retirees in our senior group, the 55 and up. And I just thought, I wonder if they might want to volunteer to facilitate some of the grant writing. And as a reward, the senior department or the senior get 5-10% of whatever they're able to raise for the city to be a part of the seniors budget. Because I think the seniors budget was what, 18,000 or 16,000?
I think right at 17.
17?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure they'd be generous enough to put it in other places in the city to improve the quality of life. And it's just this kind of thinking outside the box. How do we get all these different needs met? And, you know, I'm sitting up here and I'm thinking about the residents that have come up that are doing the homework. It's appreciated. It's impressive. But I also know that I have those conversations with a lot of other residents, and a lot of those residents are in the seniors too. You know, seniors are the highest percentage of voters. They're the most civically minded, and so maybe that's part of the conversation with them going forward. And I just thought I'd add those 2 points. And yeah, that industrial tax, it's what, like a third of our budget in terms of revenue?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm just curious how much money is left on the table that should be coming to Freeport. And that'd be a good conversation to have too.
Those contracts are up for negotiation. We do use Hugh Landrum as the company to negotiate those.
Okay. It's Hugh Landrum, you said?
Yes.
Thank you. No further comments, Mayor.
Councilman Davis?
Yes. So that contract, you just called out, have we contacted, since the last city manager left, have we been in contact with them?
I do believe Chief Howell was reaching out. I don't know if she's back there or not. I'll let her speak.
Thank you.
So we actually have a meeting scheduled, not this coming week, but the week after, that's going to be with Clute and Lake Jackson, just to kind of get the fill in on what's been going on since we haven't been a part of those. So.
Okay, yes, because I had some concerns as some people were from other cities were saying that we wasn't really in them meetings. So I'm glad you're checking into that. So
yes,
we'll get an answer, you know, what's been going on.
Yes, I reached out to Lake Jackson and Clute both,
Good.
and we're scheduled, like I said, Dan, we had talked about this today, and
Thank you.
we've already pulled up all the contract stuff. I've gotten him filled in on that as well.
All right.
So
all right.
work in progress, but,
All right,
but it is.
right. We're on the right track. All right, thank you. Yeah, that was one of my questions. Yeah, as far as this budget, I see that, you know, $1 million down and plus like that, and I'm glad that you are taking us in a different direction. Thank you for everything that you're doing, because, you know, last year was my first year, and like I was telling them, you know, this looked like it was Chinese writing. I think I told you that, and it really wasn't. You know, I mean, you break it down. You know, in the best way, our last meeting that we had, and coming out here today. You know, I know we got many more meetings to go, but you know, it's starting to understand. So I will be vocal this year. So I have to take any accountability for last year's budget. I mean, we was all in it together, but it wasn't really, you know, all in it. I mean, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, and you know, so I'm not gonna go and harp on the last year. We're gonna be positive and we're gonna move forward. And I see what's happening this year, and I know that them numbers are gonna change. I know them numbers are gonna change because we're gonna all come together, and we're gonna make sure that we do the right thing for the city this year. because it's transparency. Now we communicating. Now everybody put their ideas in. Now we're working together. I see it coming. We want to work together. And I thank you for the emails that you sent out, Chief Hall. I just see the transparency coming in. That's the key. That's going to change this whole situation around.
Thank you.
That's all.
All right. Councilman Rosso, you got anything to add?
Enough has been said.
A lot has been said. Council, come on up, Melanie.
And I like the grant writer idea, you know.
Being with a
I
little
mean,
nonprofit
yeah.
grant writer pays off, for sure. But I used to go 10 years back to the BWA meetings when they were talking about the desal plant over there. But if I understand, 50 years ago, BWA signed contracts with the 7 cities, and so you kind of have to take whatever it is, the 20 million gallons per day. But unfortunately, they can't increase the rates for different reasons. But my councilman said, you know, if we're smart and sell that water when we don't need it. Now, when a drought comes, which we're going to have one of these days, we'll need all that water. But, you know, water is liquid gold. And there's plenty of other cities that would like to have some of our water, but that's where Ashley and others got to keep an eye on how much water we're actually using, because when Mr. Matamoros did his little slideshow, he was talking about we went way over one day, and I talked to Mr. Hayes about this, but it was because Gladio had a water leak in that week. There's always a reason, but again, Mr. Hayes, you might speak to this, but there's a 50-year contract, so each city has to take a certain amount of water, but you can sell it. So.
Okay. Good to know.
So, council, I'm going to go back to the department budget requests that we have. As you're looking over this, understand the requests from the departments comes to a total of $3.6 million. Okay, Ashley says she feels confident that we can go 1.8. Okay, I've also heard over and over that this is going to be a work in progress. This is going to be something that we're going to have to keep a real close eye on. So although she tells us we can go 1.8, you know, if we were to go 0.8 and leave 1 there, then 6 months down the road we look like we're better than what we anticipated, you know, then we can consider doing something with that extra $1 million. You know, just a thought, but I think it would be best taking care of the city's finances if we don't just throw away the one. I ain't gonna say throw away. Don't assign all of it. So, any other questions or comments? A lot of good stuff there. So, it is now 7:15, and we are going to close this public hearing. Reconvene into open session. Somewhere way down here. I'm just going to go over here. So at 7:16, we're going to close this open session and open a public hearing. Public hearing, consideration and possible action approving a replat of lots 1 through 12 and lots 16 through 24, including a portion of lots 13 through 15, all in blocks 735, and a portion of Stratton Street, an abandoned right-of-way. of Velasco Township as recorded in volume 32, page 14 of the Brazoria County deed records in the Alexander Calvert Survey Abstract 49, City of Freeport, Brazoria County. Holden, let us know what's going on.
Okay, as of last council meeting we had, y'all decided to table this replat till this one. And we are strictly talking about the replat. The proposed business could change at any given time with the previous, with the ownership. If he decides to change it to a different occupation, that's what the business is on. But we are here to strictly discuss about the replat. It was brought to the Planning and Zoning in April of this year, and according to the local government code, I misspoke when I said Texas Municipal Code last month. We have 30 days upon submittal to get it to the Planning and Zoning Board. If we don't, it is called an active approval. And if the ordinance that we have in place, which anything over, it's either 4 or 5 or more, come to council, then it has an additional 30 days that it has to come in, which would have been in May. We missed that one because we brought it back to Planning and Zoning. And because of that, it is considered an active approval. There was no approval made, approval with conditions or a denial through any of our local governing boards. And so this replat is considered approved through the local government code of Chapter 212 Municipal Regulations of Subdivisions and Property Developments.
So, as you're saying, this is a formality,
Yes, sir.
is what we ended up finding out after long drawn-out conversations the other night.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. Does anyone of the public have questions or comments that they would like to make? There you go. Come on up, Miss Oldham. I wasn't ignoring you. I couldn't see you through Mr. Ezell. That's all right.
No problem. Yeah, I actually posted this on residents of Freeport, the former CCF site, for discussion. I wish all of y'all would read the discussion. It's almost like our former city manager and the owners of this property kind of did this deal without a lot of people knowing about it. And so I think y'all need to look into it. It's just so strange that they miss, I don't know, there's not many inspectors left, so I can't say whose fault it is, but my gosh, to miss the deadline, not only for the planning commission, but for you as city council to put in some conditions to protect, like we talked about, there's a daycare right across from the street where this big sign says truck stop, restaurant, and read with the comments of the public, not just mine, but there's a whole lot of people. There's pros and cons, but read it, and as council people, it's a shame that you have to adopt the replat, but you still have other options if they insist on putting a truck stop, whatever that means, right across from a daycare.
And I can comment on the publication. It is the building department's job to do the publication for planning and zoning and our BOA. It was just we thought we had it posted out. It came with a time where we had our employee picnic and we thought we had it posted. Come to find out we didn't. And so that skipped that. We unfortunately, because we didn't have it posted per I think it's 72 hours, the meeting was insufficiently canceled.
Cool. Any other questions or comments from the citizens? Seeing none, at 7:21, we will close the public hearing, reconvene into open session. Council, I will entertain a motion to approve the replat.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to table it yet again, only because the questions that were asked at the last meeting still have not been answered. One of those questions, if I recall correctly, was that we had required that the owners would show up so that we can actually ask them directly about the business and ask questions about the layout of it all. So if the owners are here,
The owner is here.
then that would be appreciated to have that conversation, number one. But number two, as I stated last time, I'm putting my faith and confidence on the leadership of the city in terms of the city manager. And at the time, we didn't have an interim city manager. Now we do, but we also didn't have an attorney. And I wanted to make sure that those individuals who are wholly responsible at the top for determining whether or not we are in compliance or if our hands are tied, et cetera, that council is advised that way versus having staff giving us legal advice that ends up not being true. As we learned here earlier, there were some misstatements. So for that reason, I want to table it.
Mayor, I do have a copy.
Well, you got a
for
motion on the
everyone
floor. We have a
about
mo-
the local government code. I have a copy for every council member if they would like to have it in their possession.
That would have been great to have in the packet.
We have we have a motion on the floor to table it. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. I am going to make a
I got a question before you make a motion.
I'm sorry?
Got a question before you make a motion?
Let's make a motion, and then we'll have discussion, like we do most everything, if that's okay. I will make a motion that we approve the replat. Is there a second?
Can't ask a question before we vote?
A motion?
Can we ask a question before we vote?
Before we vote, yes, sir, we
We
can.
can?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got a question.
Okay, you gonna second it first?
No, well, see, I asked the question before a motion was called.
No.
Gentlemen,
Go ahead, man, go ahead. Go ahead. You say you can't talk when you have a motion already on the floor, so we have to deal with the motion.
for over a year now, it's been the same thing. We make a motion, we have a second, and then we have discussion. After discussion, we call the vote. This is no different.
Yeah, but once we approve it, we can't change it.
We don't have to vote.
Right now, we're voting to approve it, right?
The motion is to approve.
To approve it,
This
right.
is yes, we are
So
voting
if we
to
get a
approve.
second, we can't change it, even though we can discuss it.
We can discuss it, and then if we choose not to approve it, then the nays will outweigh the ayes.
Jerry, in terms of just a matter of housekeeping, well, you know what, there's a motion on the floor, so we gotta see whether there's gonna be a second. If there's not a second, it'll die. But if it dies, we can still have discussion. There doesn't have to be a motion on the floor for a discussion.
Council, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Rosso. Now, gentlemen, questions or comments that you may have?
I have a question.
Yes,
Go ahead.
sir.
Go ahead, Jarvis.
Well, I was just gonna ask, since they had called a lady up, do we have to go back into public hearing so she can come back in and talk? I wanted to hear what she had to say.
No, sir, we'll let her speak.
What'd you say?
I said we'll let her speak.
So my name is Jill. I'm here representing DD&B Investments, the owners of the property. And all that we're wanting to do today is just replat. So we have the 24 different zones or lots that need to just be completed as one. Now, future development still has to go before the fire marshal and building inspector. My boss may change his mind in 2 weeks and say, I don't want to do a gas station anymore. I want to just do a bakery. You know, the point of today is just to replat those lots and make them one contiguous lot. That's all that we're trying to get done today.
Okay, so, yeah, so y'all own
We own that entire property.
that entire
Yes.
property? Yeah, so before you make a business out of it, or whatever you're gonna do out of it, it has to come back
Correct.
and
Correct.
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a question for you. Say we do it, which we've done it, but is this gonna be a truck stop?
That is what the thoughts are. The idea's been tossed around, but again, we've only done preliminary drawings. Nothing's been set in stone. The sign that's been put out there is just kind of more of like just an idea of what is to come. I do know that the zone of that area is not zoned for an actual truck stop itself. It's more of a convenience store. So Swift Truck Stop, which is the ones that we're working with, have over 400 locations in the Houston, Galveston area, and not all of them are truck stops. There's one in Alvin that's just a convenience store. North Houston, they have the 24-hour with the showers and things like that. In the meeting on the 7th, I do believe the fire marshal mentioned that he did not see a bathroom in the informal plans. And so, again, this is not going to be a formal truck stop. And again, my boss may come in next week and say, I had a change of mind. I just want to put a bakery in, or I want to put in a restaurant, or whatever. You know, but right now that's his plan. But again, today's mission and today's objective is to just get it replatted as one lot. So.
Thank you.
And I would echo what she just said. I think I heard you say this. That particular lot, according to the way it is zoned, cannot be a truck stop.
So it has truck stop on the sign.
That's just their name. Their name is Swift Truck Stop.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So if they elected to proceed with it being a truck stop, they're going to have to jump through a lot of hoops.
Correct. And again, like Councilman Pena said, we still have another session to come for to determine what business will go into that place. Today's objective is just the replat.
Yep. So the city still has some control as to what is going to be put
Correct.
on that piece of property.
Correct.
And a truck stop is not what the city wants. So, any other questions or comments, gentlemen?
Mayor, I can make one real fast.
Yes, sir.
Yes, a truck stop, by definition with the shower and everything, is not in that zone. That specific zone is it's called a C1, which is for commercial properties. There are specific that we allow in that area through our land use table that we have that was passed in planning and zoning. And that's what we go by with all of our new businesses, residential builds, everything like that. We follow the land use table that we have put in place. Now, with this one being a truck, it's the name Swift Truck Stop. I've actually seen one in West Columbia on 35. It's just Swift, and it is strictly it's a gas station. They allow, no spots for trucking or anything like that. It's just a gas station with the name Swift on it. So be like, with the Shell, HEB, and everything like that. It's just the name. They are not zoned for an official truck stop, and so it will not be an official truck stop unless they go through multiple processes that we have that the city has put in place in order to allow it.
Thank you. As I've been driving around, I'm looking at Swifts also, and noticed the same spot that you were talking about. Council, any other questions or comments?
Yes, again, the last meeting, we asked for staff to include the renderings of that space. It's not in the packet. And then we're being provided some additional information that wasn't in the packet. And that's just it. I just want to make a clear decision on this, because we had residents last time, we volunteer to be here every meeting. And so we're here. Well, most of us are here tonight. But the residents that came last time were expressing concern about the daycare across the street, the children. The residents of that neighborhood were expressing concern of the traffic and the street erosion based on the truck traffic. And so all of these questions still have not been really addressed or answered. Now, don't get me wrong. If the situation was where there wasn't these particular hurdles or risks, I'd be like, yeah, let's plat this and we'll figure it out. We'll spitball it later. But this is not that kind of deal. There's, when we start talking about that daycare, you start thinking, well, wait a minute. Let's be a little less hasty. So my take on it is I'd still like that information. So at this point, I just want to express, number one, my appreciation that you guys are looking to invest in Freeport. I hope it does move forward with the right business plan. But as today, I don't have enough information. But if that information were to come forward with a plan where we can see what the actual structure is, love to green light it and fast track it for you guys. But tonight, I just can't do it. And I just want to be upfront with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Council, any other questions or comments?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just want to make sure, I mean, whatever we vote on today, let citizens know, or whoever had any concerns about the truck stop and the daycares and all that around there. To my understanding, this is just a replot, and to let y'all know that I'm not going to be even thinking about letting the truck stop come in there. So, you know, you can make a regular store, or he can make anything else you want to make. But so if you come back in here with a truck stop plan, I'm not going for a truck stop plan. So, thank you. But if you're just gonna replot it, I mean, so
Again,
you can make all of it.
Today's objective was just to replat.
Yeah.
That
So,
was it.
Yep.
I mean, so I just verbally said that. Go back and tell him it's not no truck stop.
And thank you for coming out tonight, by the way.
And I think P&Z shares our sentiment on it, the planning and zoning. They share our sentiment on it not being a truck stop.
I hope so.
So, council, I'm going to call the vote. We're not voting on whether or not we're going to allow a truck stop in town. We're voting on whether or not we are going to proceed with the replat so they can use the whole properties that they own as one business, one entity. So with that, gentlemen, I will call the vote. All those in favor for the replat state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Gentlemen, before we leave tonight, there should be three replats over here on the table. We need to make sure we sign before we leave. Y'all think those tablets are hard to maneuver through? This thing here's. All right, moving on. Agenda item 5A, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2025-2937 to amend Texas Gulf Bank signatories. Ms. Hurst.
The list of authorized signatories for the city's Texas Gulf Bank account requires updating to reflect Mr. Dan Pennington, our interim city manager, as a signatory. The bank does require a resolution designating which city officials are authorized to open accounts, execute wires, and other transactions for city funds. Currently, the authorized officials on the account are Mr. Jerry Kane, the mayor, former city manager Lance Petty, and myself, Ashley Hurst, finance director. This resolution is needed to remove Mr. Petty and replace him with Mr. Pennington as the signatory.
I'll make a motion.
To approve?
To approve it, yes, to update the accounts with Mr. Pennington as the interim city manager and authorized signatory, and to remove Lance Petty.
Council, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Pena to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Davis. I appreciate that, gentlemen, because it's kind of a pain. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 5B, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2025-2938 to amend Tex pool signatories.
Same thing with this, same situation. This resolution would remove former city manager, Mr. Petty, and it would replace him with Mr. Dan Pennington, the interim city manager. It would still leave myself and mayor on there as signatories.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mayor.
Motion to approve by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Rosso. Any discussion needed, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 5C, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2025-2939 to amend Texas class signatories. Ms. Hurst.
Okay, last and final item tonight. Same thing with this one. It replaces former city manager, Mr. Petty, with Mr. Dan Pennington, the interim city manager. This one is for the Texas class account.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments, gentlemen?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How many signatures does it take?
Two.
Two.
Two?
You have to have two, yes, sir.
Two? Okay.
Yeah, so when payroll checks go out and when they gotta pay bills, they send me an email and I sit there for about 20 minutes. Yeah, your hands cramping up, you forget how to sign your name. So I appreciate y'all passing these.
I already have Mr. Pennington's signature ready to shoot it in there.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Actually, along the same lines that Councilman Rosso was asking, are all the signatures required wet signatures or electronic or stamps? I want to make sure that they're wet signatures.
Electronic being printed from the software, is that
That's what I'm asking. What format's acceptable?
all three is acceptable by the bank?
Oh, really?
Mine will always be wet.
Good to know. I'm just curious if that's something that we can require, that it's always a wet signature. Especially since it's not you, Mayor, since you're gonna be at work, but everybody else will be in City Hall.
So Texas Gulf Bank does have really strong positive pay internal controls. I mean, like we submit, I say positive pay, but we submit check report, what we're paying. And even then, if it doesn't match to the exact T they call, we have to verify over the phone. So I would say the bank's internal controls itself are very strong.
All right. Yeah, I'm just concerned because I know that there was some issues with some stamps that were used and abused before. So I'm just curious what that is.
I
Thank
don't
you.
know anything about the stamp
All right.
side.
Gentlemen, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work, Ashley. That brings us to work session. We'll start off with Councilman Pena, Ward A.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. And for all those speaking out, for the public and for those at home watching, you're welcome to attend and speak out as well and speak up and voice your concerns. I want to first and foremost also welcome Dan Pennington as our interim city manager. We did review his credentials and had a chance to meet with him in an executive session a couple of meetings ago. And he answered all of our questions pretty thoroughly, very thoroughly, and has some very strong credentials. So welcome, sir. Glad you're here. And I guess the second order of business here, I also wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we had a birthday this last week. Councilman Jarvis Davis became a senior citizen. Big 5-0, so happy birthday, Mr. Davis. And I won't require everybody to do a little sing-along, but I just thought I'd embarrass you a little. So just to get into the business of what's going on with the concerns of constituents in Ward A and the citywide, there was conversation about the TERS and what the activities are, and for that matter, where the TERS needs to be residing, whether it's through the EDC or the city council. And I'd like the city manager and legal to look at that. That was brought to my attention. The second thing is I'd like to get an update on the lights from Centerpoint. That's also been asked throughout the wards, and I know that we've been planning that for the last year, and a lot of those lights have not been put in place. The next thing is that, as many of you guys know, I've been basically putting on ice cream socials at the splash pad downtown and also at the beach, and those have been well received, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. And my plan, just as a public notice, is that I'll be doing that weekly, one at the beach, one at the splash pad, and I may just interchange different splash pads. But real quickly here, is there a splash pad in Ward C or D?
I believe we just have the one downtown and the one at the park.
Yeah. Well,
boat ramp.
I just got to thinking about that because there were some residents that came from Ward C and D, and I was thinking, you know what, maybe we need to look at that to make sure everybody has a splash pad that's just easy to walk to for their kids. And so I just wanted to also give some feedback that this weekend when I was at the beach, the ice cream social that we had on Sunday morning, early afternoon, the folks that came by for ice cream were 100% from out of town. The closest one was Rocheron. The furthest one was from Wisconsin. But there was easily a couple hundred folks there on the beach in that 3-hour span that we were there. The only local that was there actually was our very own Rudy. So he came by, drove by with his son in his truck, and didn't get stuck in the sand. And just it was good to see some of the city staff out there. But it just really drove home the point that if you work here and you live here, you probably love the places you're living in, and you take more care of it. So I had a good conversation with him to have him express how much he actually enjoys the beach and is looking to do things to improve it. So I'm just putting in that nugget there that we push for more staff to live in the city and try to find ways to incentivize that. The other thing I wanted to mention here is that I know that we just had board selections, and my question is, have all the boards done their elections internally? And so I don't know if we can get that answer from city staff on which boards actually have held their elections. That was a question that was brought up to me. Oh, and just as an FYI, the event at the beach ended up encouraging some local residents here to create a beach reunion event, and so information on that's supposed to be coming out here too. And so it's just, just these little changes and a little attention to our parks and our beach. All of a sudden, folks are like remembering, hey, yeah, we have these places that are fun, and the families here locally are able to enjoy it. Some housekeeping, just some general housekeeping here. There was high grass at the EDC buildings, and right next door to it, I think it belonged to Old White's Cafe, and I'm not sure if we can't just have the EDC folks take care of that since they're right there, and making sure that they, or for that matter, code enforcement contacts White's Cafe owners to attend to that high grass, and it's about 3 or 4 feet tall. And the same thing with the grass next to 2nd and Park Avenue. I believe that belongs to Mr. Royal. And the other comments I had here were the 288 Brazosport Boulevard being paved. A real serious concern was the drainage, because the grade of the new asphalt, though it's nice and smooth, is only partial. The question is, are considerations for the drainage on the side of that street being made, and wasn't sure who's in charge of making sure that that happens, or if we're just completely relying on TxDOT.
That's a TxDOT road, and we can't do nothing in it. So they have engineers, and I mean, just like, I mean, for the county. So, but that's a road to itself. We can't really tell them nothing to do with that road.
But the drainage on that road affects us, right?
So, but in their plans and their engineer plans, they have to plan it out to where it's gonna drain.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure I brought it up here, and so that we were aware, and watching as we're in hurricane season here and flash floods coming, that I'd hate for that main corridor there to have flooding issues. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Davis, Councilman Ward B.
Whoa, Ward B. Hey, everybody, we back. Yeah, man, God is good, ain't he? My prayers have been answered. You know, first of all, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for allowing this to be put back on the agenda. You know, and Mr. Pennington, welcome. We're excited to have you. I know you're going to do good here in your time here, you know, from talking to you and you know, doing a little research on you and, you know, asking a couple of people, you know, you got a solid track record, sir. So I thank you, and we're excited to work with you. You know, like the citizen came up earlier and, you know, spoke about the workshop, and I'm in concur with him, you know. I just, you know, hope that, you know, we use this workshop what it's for. And starting off tonight, you know, it's a good start, and we're back again. You know, I'm excited on what's going on here in the city. You know, the transfer and just the transparency that's going on just in this last month. I mean, if you citizens, you might not know as much, but I mean, Ashley, hats off to you. You've been great. I think you're doing an excellent job. You're setting the standards high. I mean, you know, I know the workers inside the city hall appreciate what you're doing over there with them. Like I said, Mr. Pennington, he's very transparent, so I know he's gonna fall right in and keep this transparency going. Chief Howe, she started it. She came in and just changed the whole. I mean, if you call her and you ask her something, I mean, she gets right on it, and she's very detailed when she come back, you know, with an answer, and you know, if you want to meet with somebody, the doors is open. She'll go over there, meet with you and them, and I mean, so this is we had a meeting in City Hall, and the department heads. I mean, you should see how excited they are. That, you know, they're like, wow, we never had a meeting like this. I mean, and they want to engage with each other, and this is how you build a city. I already see it building. That's why I tell you, actually, them numbers not gonna be like they were this year. I mean, I can see the change that's happening just in this short period of time, and it is awesome to see what God is doing here in Freeport. I mean, if you ain't been praying and you ain't been praying on it, you can't see it. But I went on a prayer walk the other day. Some lady started a prayer walk downtown, and I got there, and they passed out a piece of paper, so they got like an agenda on what you're gonna pray on. And I got the piece of paper, and I looked at it, and your name was on there, my name was on there, your name was on there, your position was on there, your name was on there, George's name was on there. And that was just like wow to me, like, man, I just showed up. I'm like, people are praying for us, for Freeport. And George's not here, but he's probably watching. But it was a 15-year-old at the prayer walk. The lady had brought her son. He's 15 years old, sophomore at Brazosport College, and Brazosport High School, yeah. And he had George's name, a 15-year-old. And when I tell you he prayed, he prayed, and I was very impressed. And I was like, man, I wish he had my name. Maybe, but no, you know, we all need it. But I just think, but it was just amazing, you know, to see that young man pray like he did, and just to see our names on there, and they praying for the city, and I see the prayers work. I mean, and we have to come together, y'all. I mean, we're at a time that, you know, to build the city, we have to put we got to put it in the past, and we got to do what's right for the city. And now is the time. I mean, everything is, in transparency is the key. And it's going to change the whole game up here, because a lot of times, that's why people are getting mad and upset, because you're not getting information and you feel like you do information. And citizens are asking us questions and we don't have the answers. And then they telling me or someone, how are you the city councilman and you don't know? And that's really, you know, it was embarrassing, and it was a struggle to say that, and then you come try to get the answer, and then you get, you know, a runaround. But all of that is about to change, and I'm just excited. I see it already, and I know it's going to happen. So to my ward, you know, most of the complaints I've been having right now is, you know, just the last month or so, is the swimming pool. You know, we've been struggling with the swimming pool for 2 years now, okay? The swimming pool is open, but that's one thing we want to get in the budget time, and we want to make sure that we address the swimming pool, because the swimming pool's, you know, been closed for almost 2 years, and then it opens up 1 month for its time to close again. And, you know, a lot of senior citizens, not a lot, but a handful, was telling me, you know, that they have to go to Lake Jackson. And they're tired of going, why is this pool not open? Why is this pool not open? Why do we have to go to Lake Jackson for the pool? I don't know, but, you know. But now I got some answers here, you know, a couple of weeks ago, but it's some issues that we need to address at that pool, and I'm thankful that they got it open. And, you know, because it's better than, the 1 month is better than no month. So, you know, I appreciate the work the effort that they put in. But they're going through some challenges over there. And we got to work together to help, you know, solve them challenges. You know, one of the challenges, I asked one of them, have we reached out to other cities that have pools and see, you know, how they're, you know, getting lifeguards, how they're chemical in the pool. And what troubled me was, it was said that they were told not to reach out to cities about that kind of stuff. So I don't know who told them that, but we're gonna get to the bottom of that too. And so, and then this water bill. I got 2 water bills. I got one in my pocket, and I got another one that I didn't get to pick up. But the second one I didn't get to pick up is a $600 and something water bill. Now this is a 89-year-old lady, citizen. She never laid on her water bill. Ain't no puddles in her yard. And, you know, she didn't get the answers that she needed when she called up there, because she still got the water bill. So I'm gonna be bringing that water bill up there, and we're gonna find out. We need to find out. Bring it to you, okay. I'm bringing you the water bill. But, you know, this is an 89-year-old woman. Ain't no way that she got, you know, use this much water. She ain't got no pool. I don't know where the leak's at or whatever, but it's got to be a leak or it's a typo. And and I know Ashley gonna get to the bottom of it. So, and that's about. I mean, it's a bunch of more stuff, but I already took up enough time, but I just want to thank y'all for coming out and bearing with us. I know it's been rough, you know, but I think it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better, and we're gonna learn how to agree to disagree and work together and solve these issues for the better of Freeport, and not for my benefit or your benefit or his benefit or her benefit. It's for the benefit of Freeport. And I think with the new changes that we got, we're headed in the right direction. So we have to work together. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child, you know, old people used to say, you know. and that's what it's gonna take here to build the city. That's what it's gonna take here. It's gonna take a village. Us and y'all, we have to all come together and work together to rebuild Freeport. And you know, I'm excited for what God is doing here and for what He's about to do. See, if you can see the change coming, but you got to be excited about what He's about to do in Freeport. And He's about to do some miracle things here. If we, as people, just get out of the way and allow His will to be done. Thank y'all.
I can tell right now we're gonna have to come up with some time limits. For this side. This one over here is a different story. Councilman Rosso.
Y'all ready to take up an offering? Pena and Davis, Lord have mercy. I was a safety man out at the county when I worked out there. I worked out there 21 years, and you have heat exhaustion, you have heat stress, and you have heat stroke. Anyone that's working in this sun, it's hot now, but guess what? It's gonna get hotter. August is the hottest month. So beware. I've worked with people that's had heat stroke, which is the worst thing could happen to a person. That's just for your information. I wanted you to know. Thank you, Jerry, for bringing this back up where we can talk to the people. Congratulations, Mr. Pennington, for getting the honors. I looked at the roll-up door over at the River Place, and it looks nice. They finally replaced it. September 22nd, we're going to Dido's. You got to be 55 years old to go. We're going to get on that river boat.
Up to 50?
And a meal is included. You're too young, Jarvis. A meal is included, and it's a part of the senior citizens. Harvest Fest, October 13th. So write in your calendars those dates, the 22nd of September, first come, first serve. It's not that many, I'll take a guess, 38. I think that's it. I think 38 is the number that's when it's a cutoff. It's a $50 charge, which is cheap. It was $65, but we lowered it down to $50 because we'll catch the bus over here at River Place. You have to ride on the bus for liability, and we'll go out to Dido's. Some of you have been on that boat. Good food, good fellowship. It's about 2 hours at the most. Ride up and down is that the Bernard, right? Ride up and down the Bernard. Ward D is in good shape, as far as I can see. I think Ward D has the most new homes in Freeport. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right.
But I'm pretty sure. We got two coming out. Well, we got one I know of coming out of the ground, and we got one that they just finished, a beautiful home. And that's my thing. Clarissa, I want to see some rooftops. I want to see some rooftops. And anybody that doesn't want to see rooftops, you on your own, because I believe the majority of us want to see people. All those cars you see at 3:30, 4 o'clock, headed 288, headed towards Pearland, no. We need those people to stay here in Freeport, live here in Freeport. I'm like Mr. Davis there. I can see great things happening. And I'm not pointing the finger at no one person. I just want us to be together. I love this city. I've said it for 100 times since I've been on this council. I love the city of Freeport. We're gonna do all right.
Thank you, Councilman. I would like to start off by thanking Mr. Pennington as well. I think he is the right person to help continue the momentum that the city has had, and quite possibly even pick up a little bit more. But thank you, and wish you the best of luck. Full disclosure on the work session. I took the work session off of the agenda 6 months ago, probably, maybe more. And the reason I took it off the agenda is it got to the point to where, and don't get me wrong, the people at home drinking beer and eating popcorn really enjoyed the show. But it got to the point to where we had council members arguing with citizens, calling out city employees, arguing with each other up here. And it, once again, made a great show on YouTube or whatever we were televising it at the time, but it made for a real disruptive meeting. Okay. I feel that like the work session is a valuable tool. You know, it shouldn't be just limited to, hey Rudy, there's a pothole out here. You know, this is a tool that we can voice the concerns of our constituents. We can check up on, you all right there, Councilman? I guess. I noticed. We can check up on something that was brought up in the previous meeting. Okay, so also with full disclosure, Councilman Davis and Councilman Pena were the two that made the request for this to be on this agenda. And we went ahead and put it, and I came into the meeting tonight thinking if we can learn to use this the way it's designed to be used, then we'll keep it. If we get back to where we're throwing stones, then it could go away. And I hope we don't get to that point. And I think everybody in the audience, a lot of people that are at home watching this on YouTube, y'all remember, y'all understand exactly what I'm saying. Okay. Other than that, I have had several citizens ask me about the Kids Fest this year. Are we going to have the Kids Fest? And the answer simply is yes, we are going to have the Kids Fest. However, it's going to be a little bit later in the year than what it was in previous years. In the past, we had it the weekend before or 2 weekends before school started. And it was always really hot out there. Last year, we moved it due to Hurricane Beryl We still had a great turnout, tons of kids, and it was a lot cooler. Okay, so this year I believe Wade Dillon, who picked this up, thank you Wade, decided to do it at a later date in September or something. Someone help me? Yeah, I'm thinking it's September 6th. I was thinking it was the first weekend of September. So the first weekend of September, September 6th, will be Kids Fests. If you have kids, you know someone that has kids, bring them out. And just enjoy the show, enjoy the day. It's a free event and well worth it. So, council, thank you for behaving tonight, I guess I could say. I don't want to sound like a babysitter, but I truly appreciate it. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to the interim city manager.
I appreciate councils and some citizens' comments and support. I'll do everything I can to live up to that. I will work hard. I know they've heard that before, but I will work hard to gain their confidence and to, as he said, continue the city moving forward. I've been very impressed with a lot of the staff that I've gotten to meet before. So, I was here a few years ago, 8 years ago or whatever. The staff is definitely elevated in that time. So you should be very proud of the staff that you have here. Very professional staff, very hardworking, very conscientious. That's all I have to say.
Can I give one?
Thank you very much.
Can I give one more to him? Say something to him? Just one thing.
Real quick.
One thing. Forgot to thank you. I heard you went out to Dan's hit the yard running the first day. And I heard you went out to visit with the senior citizens, the bingo thing today and stuff like that. Shark exhibit.
I encourage you to go to the shark
Look,
exhibit.
I mean, first day on the job, and had meetings all day, and made time to get out and get into the city. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
I keep telling him 5 years.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to executive session. Before we go into executive session, I would like to make a motion to include, if necessary, Ms. Donna Fisher from HR and Chris Duncan. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second by Councilman Pena. Council, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. It is now 8:10. We are officially closing the regular scheduled meeting and going into executive session. Executive session regarding Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, personnel matters, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. This is in regards to legal service.